was some talk about maybe having the best of the best meet up against each other, maybe in an arena type environment.
Yeah, the leveling system is quite hardcore, so that means that I don't know how much detail we want to go in there, but basically you lose XP when you die, PvP XP when you die.
Ooh.
So it's kind of it's hardcore, and you can't de-level, but oh my god, it's hard to be the best. I was like, I was voted down there because I am a bit more casual, and you know, we had some
PvP is hardcore.
Yeah, there you go. Which is why I lean more on other people. So yeah, if you are highest level PvP, there's not going to be that many of those, to put it that way.
We've PvP'd in the office about this topic a lot. No, I mean, we actually ended up having a very large discussion about this not that long ago, because it is a very important issue to us. We've obviously focused on PvP a fair bit, and it's something players will definitely enjoy about the game. Another thing is that we're looking at is post-launch rewards. We have the current leveling system, but we also have plans to reward people for that level after a set period of time. So we give people some time to settle down and fight over their level, and then at intervals we'll look at basically rewarding people based on what level they've managed to gain in that period of time. So we're just keeping an eye on it and seeing, you know, what we can implement and what people like.
When at launch, your reward, your like power increase and standing will be null when you increase in level, and then after a set number of months it will enter the game, boom, and then after a set number of months it will change according to the balance on that time, and then we will keep doing that and sort of make a season, as you might have seen in other games.
Okay, we have to do last question now.
Already? We're having so much fun.
Yeah, but they're going to have even more fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to play PvP.
So,
yeah.
Who wants the honor? Oh, okay.
There was mention earlier about certain items being able to optimize them for certain types of opponents. Frankly, most players are too lazy to do that, and they're gonna take their one item. Is it really going to be only for that small number of people who are going to be willing to do that, or will it be advantageous enough to do that to encourage more people to do it?
Yeah, Evan, you add to this. After I've done, the penalties of not doing that is what decides if you force people to do it or not. And today, I think it's a set percentage of the raid targets that will encourage / force you to do it at high levels, and then a fair bit of mobs lower level that will be having a certain type of protection gear towards certain types of damage that will encourage you to do it. But the point is that when, except for raids, what the player does, the lazy type that you described well there, which is the normal MMO, yeah, he will basically only do it if they find that the drops from that individual mob is good enough for us to sort of encourage it hard enough. So that's how we're going to do it. But I think most like soloers will go and like, I'm just going to go somewhere else and kill someone because this is a passage for my high level situation. Many people think that way. So I hope that we will be able to do it, and it is our goal. If it's enough, that remains to be seen. And then if you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has to balance this stuff, it's obviously a fine balance because we don't want to make it impossible for people to play if they're normal. You know, I don't think anybody wants to feel like they're chained to their desk having to farm, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of the way that we have dealt with this is by emphasizing the trade skill system. And the trade skill system allows for creating customized gear extremely easily with the socketing system. And basically, a trade skill, a weapon, armor piece, whatnot, is a blank slate. has no specific mods on it at all. And it has a certain amount of sockets that you can put the sockets into that are also created by a different trade skill. And the result of that is your item. So that allows us to have a lot of variety quite easily. You know, hopefully it will be reasonably practical to find a local trade skiller and get something made up without too much effort. And the effort is a big part of what you say about, you know, laziness and whatnot. If it's reasonably easy to get, people will kind of get eased into it.
That's the other part of the question, naturally.
The other part I think that sometimes gets ignored is there's the making the items, and then there's those carrying items around eat up too much of your inventory space, so it now becomes another reason not to do it.
Right.
And that I think is probably more common.
Having so many different sets.
But that's exactly why the trade crafting inventory has 100 slots in addition to your normal stuff, and you can do it on the fly because you can really see it as a set of tools that you can just use there and then to adapt to those types of situations.
I'll also mention that we do, for every critical bonus that we have on an item or on a piece of equipment, we have a version of it that only applies to PvP. So for basically every single stat that will buff. So what this allows is for us to create a specific PvP oriented gear. So that's another reason that people will want to consider their gear set, especially if they PvP actively and swap it back and forth and things like that. It will be very useful and very, well, especially given the bonuses of holding keeps and things like that, lucrative for players to keep an eye on that.
So like a normal PvE weapon won't necessarily be awesome in PvP per se.
It may not. There might be better. You know, it's depending on what you have available, things like that.
But I think Evan and I share one characteristic, maybe many, but at least one, that we find number crunching gameplay fun. I mean, I designed the AO, the skill system. He's the one that ripped it apart. So do you know that you made the AOM mainframe?
The AO mainframe.
Mainframe.
Back
That's him. So like that, he's too dangerous to have on the streets. Let's hire him quickly. So if you guys see, that's like the lookup tool that basically reverse engineered the complete AO database, which is also why we made it encrypted. For Conan. And
I mean, it's two sides of the coin. You have a lot of people who love numbers that play MMOs. You have a lot of people who are casual, and they meet somewhere in the middle, and you have to provide stuff for both of them.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of crossover there, and the casual people do occasionally like, you know, they like feeling like they're doing something tricky to trick the system. I beat the system. I equipped this, and I did way better than I was supposed to. People like that sense of accomplishment, and
we do encourage, and we encourage it. We on purpose make the system so that you can reveal stuff we didn't think of. So
it's a bit of that, and we want people to play with their equipment, their spec, and their character, and try to find what works best for them.
It's just giving.
It's a tough job, but it's important for an MMO environment, mostly because you're in with other players, so you're comparing yourself to other players all the time. There's always a drive there to be better than the person next to you. So we kind of play on that. And
I think one of the most interesting and challenging things for me personally in Conan has been the extreme need not to make the learning curve of Conan anyway similar to AO, which was like cliff face 2,000 meters tall that you sort of had a speed of 200 kilometers towards when you install the game.
Only 10 years and you actually learned that.
Yeah. But, and this is the challenging part, at the same time, let that type of gameplay blossom towards the end of the game. Because that's when you really feel that your mental skill should matter in everything you do. And that also back propagates into the way you move your hands on the keyboard. So that type of mental skill and challenge and think combines with the physical sort of like playing around, jumping around, and the more hands-on combat thing that you see in other games. So those two are really, that's been a really fun challenge, I think, and it's always like telling people to do it slightly opposite of what they're thinking they're doing it, just to try to get that thing in there. But that's been really fun.